Jesse, cue it up. Everybody in their places. It's time to go.
Are we rolling? Yeah, we're rolling. Okay, let's get it done, everybody. Let's go. Hey, Reagan, how's my hair? Is it okay?
Poxy, they can't see you.
All right, come on, let's go. It's toots, people. Poxy, start on page 4. Get the
Here we
lines
are.
right this time.
Right, I
5,
got it this time, I swear.
4, 3.
Come on. It's time for the Ghost of Hollywood.
Well, hello, wall crawlers, and welcome to the 45th episode of The Ghost of Hollywood. I'm Poxy Leonard here with Miss Reagan, and tonight we are going to be hanging with the one and only Zeb Love. Yeah, baby.
And if you haven't heard of Zeb yet, let me fill you in quickly. Zeb is a well-known printmaker and illustrator based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania here in the United States. Getting into the game by teaching himself how to screen print, it wasn't too long before Zeb was receiving requests for posters by bands such as Pearl Jam or the Avett Brothers. Fast forward to 2024, and Zeb makes a big upgrade to the M Saturn printing press. More on that later.
Yeah, for real, because that thing is one complex machine, dude. I was reading about how it operated while I was doing my homework for this episode, and I still don't understand how it works. So I'm excited for him to explain this thing when we get him on the air here in a bit.
We'll also ask about the evolution of Zeb's business and how he manages the volume to duplicate his work for each project he takes on with mass printing.
Yeah, I'm assuming timing is pretty critical here, so I'm sure he's had to be selective about what projects he's willing to work on, since they occupy weeks of his life.
Well, in previous interviews, he's mentioned working on multiple projects simultaneously to keep himself from feeling narrowed to a single focus. Now, also, materials and processes are another unique factor here. Given that his piece of work is unique, I'm curious how much autonomy or liberty his clients provide him with.
Yeah, I'd assume a bit. Like, Zeb's worked on projects for bands like Dead & Company, so his authentic approach to abstractions are probably appreciated here. But sometimes it's maybe, I'm assuming, more of a, can you do this and make it look like that?
Sure, but he's also known for applications like manually mixing and adjusting inks, or for his use of transparent inks on certain work. So it's conceivable that most of what he works on to create visually is simply his own rather than being advised, even if it's represented by a particular artist.
But what about the exhibitions? I mean, he's done quite a few exhibitions and worked for Mad Duck and Hero Complex on various opportunities, which is a pretty big deal. I mean, I was looking at some of the unique film poster designs the other day, and they were sick.
Regardless, Zeb seems to keep a pretty DIY ethos, and this lends to his unique approach of printing those incredible show or tour posters you've undoubtedly seen if you're a fan of any of the artists we've already brought up.
Yeah, and trust me, there's more. So much more. And when we return, Zeb Love will join us to talk all about it. Simon and Lennox are also back at it with another terrifying tale from the depths of the cinematic dumpster fire. So stay tuned. I'm Poxy Leonard here with Miss Reagan.
And you're listening to The Ghost of Hollywood. Interested in television or movies?
Then check out The Ghost of Hollywood for the best in cinema-related podcast at theghostofhollywood.com or wherever you get your podcast. Welcome back to The Ghost of Hollywood. I'm Poxy Leonard here with Miss Reagan, and joining us tonight is visual artist, screen printer, and creator, Zeb Love. Now, Zeb worked on his first major project developing a gig poster for the Avett Brothers all the way back in 2012, and has since designed artwork for bands such as Dead & Company, Pearl Jam, and Metallica, to name a few. Now, in recent years, he's also worked tirelessly refining his screen printing techniques. More on that in just a moment, but I'd like to welcome Zeb Love to tonight's show. Zeb, thanks for joining us on The Ghost of Hollywood. How are you this evening?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, we're doing all right. We're just taking it easy, just kicking it, So we're excited to talk with you. You're one of the first artists we've ever really had on the show. Most of the time we have to talk to cinematographers or actors and stuff. So you got to bear with us here. We're naivete a little bit.
I mean, cinematographers are incredible. They really paint the movies.
Oh yeah, that's the way to do it. So I'm going to start with a more recent question. That way we don't, we ain't got to start back at birth or anything. So during a recent interview though, because you've done 2 interviews with Stefan Shirazi. Now, the second one in April of 2024, you mentioned that you had purchased a brand new printing press, the MR Saturn. Now, you called this your dream device at that time. So how has that press changed or optimized your workflow through the last year?
This thing is like it's much nicer than the one I had before, and it's larger, so I can do larger formats. It's also pneumatic, so I have a lot more control over the results I'm going to get, so I can push through a lot more detail and have it more consistent, and be able to try new things and printing techniques that I haven't been able to try before. So it's allowed me to open up and experiment and try new things, and it's been a lot of fun to get to know how to use it. I'm still a little scared of it because it's kind of overwhelming, but I'm learning as I go.
What about it scares you? Is it just like the learning curve on some of it, or just kind of you figure new things out with it as you go? Or
Yeah, like right when I first got it working, I was like, you have to dial in all the settings and adjust the knobs and levers, and I like broke a few screens and ripped them, and then like the sensors were all malfunctioning and like just going up and down. I was like, did I break it? And then so just a little bit of a learning curve, but I think I got it dialed in and just kind of leave it alone until something happens.
I hear that one. So it's all like precision parts. So if one thing's out of alignment, everything's out of alignment, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Pull your
and
hair.
it can be also the weather, and like it's really humid and hot, so that can affect things with the paper, and like there's just a lot of small nuance things with screen printing. So even if you figure out the problem, there's a new problem usually pops up somewhere else.
Yeah. Have you had to use it for any larger projects yet, or are you just still tinkering around with it? What's your main workflow right now?
Um, Workflow right now is kind of slower. It's been a slow year. I just bought a house, so I've been kind of adjusting to that.
Well,
nice.
congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Yeah, I love it. But I've only done a few posters this year so far. I did a my morning jacket, Pearl Jam, but I didn't print the Pearl Jam one, and then a Jack White one that actually we had a storm, and the storm knocked out the power to my press, so I had a hand pull again for the first time in probably 10 years, and that was pretty brutal.
Oh. So, well, how does that transition, how does that integrate the time differently? Like, how much longer does it take to do that?
Oh, it's like probably double, triple the time.
Oh, wow.
Dude.
So it's brutal then.
Yeah.
What was the quantity of it, or is it just like layering it all in?
The layering of it, and I think the quantity was like 300 posters or something like that, but it was like 5 colors, 6 colors. So you have to print each color each time. So it just adds up over time.
Well, I've read, in recent past interviews, you've talked a lot about how you grew up and you've kind of mentioned books like Walden and Nature. So being a homeowner now, you've been able to spend some personal time, kind of manifest yourself in the garden and, creating a little your own art around your house to do what you like there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been a really fun transition because most of the time in the past, I've just sank all of my energy, all of my time, all of my process into my work. And so having a house is like really changed and helped me open up more. And like, so now I'm getting plants, and I mean, I'm painting the rooms and designing like how I'm gonna lay things out with the shelves. And it's just a lot of fun to kind of use that side of the brain, instead of just work, work, work.
Oh yeah, it's you kind of center yourself a bit. I spend a lot of time in the yard. Confession, everyone.
Yeah.
No, but it's so like I love messing with like my plants and stuff, and kind of getting up in the morning, enjoying a little of the sun if you're able, and then being
Yeah.
able to mess in the yard and stuff. Kind of puts you at center, especially if you've got really dense work that can be meticulous, takes a lot of focus. It's a good place to be with it. But
Yeah, for sure. Just there's something therapeutic about pulling weeds and cutting the grass.
you're not lying. You're not lying.
But so I've read that the volume of certain prints, in particularly large runs for major rock groups like Dave Matthews Band, that it can take up to a week or longer because each day factors in a different process or color. So, how do you plan for longer runs so that you're able to maintain focus and endurance?
We have a TV mounted in our print shop, so I usually just try to find a couple of good movies to put on because with those bigger runs, like a single color can take up to like 8 or 9 hours, and then it's 8 or 9 hours of just straight printing because you can't really leave the press because the ink will dry and you have to reset it all up again. So you kind of just have to power through. So with those long runs, you kind of just get in a zone, and you just go until you finish the color, let it dry, and then you come back the next day, start fresh. Because the longer you go, the more tired and fatigued you get, and then you start making mistakes, and then you start letting things slide, and you kind of just want to get through it, but you realize you should just take a couple steps back and come back the next day fresh.
Yeah, so it takes a lot of kind of just day over day balance. You've written about how or talked about before how you've like watched like the entire 7 seasons of Sopranos and stuff, like literally working through some of this stuff.
Yeah, Sopranos, Fargo, those kind of long format shows are great for that because I mean, you're still paying attention to what you're doing, but you just need a quick glance and make sure everything's working, and then you can kind of like do both at the same time.
Does that ever climb up into your head? Because some of those shows, in particular, like Sopranos, are dense. You know what I mean? Stuff kind of climbs in your mind a little bit. Does it get with you while you're working?
Yeah. I mean, I don't pay like super close attention to it, but it definitely helps the time go by faster.
I feel that one. Now, how do you work with artists or musicians that you're designing for to develop the visualization for their projects?
They usually don't give me much to go off of. They usually just reach out and say, "Hey, we have a show coming up on this date in this city. You want to do it?" And I say yes or no. And then I'll usually dive into some of the city history or like the state, like some of the surroundings or what's to do there. I'll kind of make lists on my sketchbook, and I'll go in to the band's lyrics, and I'll jot down notes and listen to it and just try to get like a bunch of stuff. And that's like the brainstorming phase, which sometimes it can click right away, but sometimes it can take, 2 or 3 weeks of just going back and forth and showing up, and you don't really know what you're looking for until it like kind of finds you. So you just kind of keep showing up, and I'm always surprised about what happens, but it's a fun process. I still don't really have it dialed in, but I don't know. I think it's important to leave it open so you can like experience new things and try new things and not put it in a box.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of it would be kind of like on some level a case by case basis. Like if you get too dialed and like somebody throws something at you, then you're kind of compartmentalized to what you're already doing there.
Oh yeah, tunnel vision's a big thing with me. It's like it's so easy to get tunnel vision. It's like, oh, I gotta, I'm working on this cabin drawing. I gotta make sure this cabin is like perfect. And then you like kind of miss the point of the whole thing, and you're like zoomed in 100%, and you need to zoom out to get like the whole framework again. So it's helpful when I'm working on stuff to have more than one going at the same time, so you can kind of alternate days. That's what I'm doing currently. Is working on 2 posters for a Pittsburgh show, and then another poster for David Brothers. And so I'm doing one day, and the subject matter is much different than the other, and it's just a lot of fun. It kind of like resets you every single day. You show up to work again.
Now, when you have coinciding projects like that, is it easier? I'm assuming when they're different than like say if they become like more thematically consistent. Does that make it harder if there's kind of less like the lines blur there when you're working on them simultaneously, not to have the influences become sort of ambiguous?
Yeah, definitely. But generally they're pretty different because I try to match the band with whatever kind of style and subject matter that I'm going with. So the one I'm working on now is the one that's kind of more silly, and then the other poster is more of a serious, softer, somber one. So it's kind of like there's a nice balance there. And it keeps me interested too, because if I was drawing the same thing over and over again, I'd get really bored.
All right, and with that, let's take a quick break here. I'm Boxy Leonard with Ms. Reagan. You are listening to The Ghost of Hollywood. It's time to turn things over to Simon and Lennox for a brief segment of the cinematic dumpster fire. But stay tuned because we'll be back with Zeb Love right after that. That's right, baby.
When it comes to making movies, anything can go wrong. And tonight we're here to discuss that on the Cinematic Dumpster Fire.
What's up, everybody? This is Simon here with my man Lennox, and it's time for another segment of the Cinematic Dumpster Fire. I hope you've been enjoying Poxy and Reagan's interview with Zeb Love. Stay tuned because we'll be back to that in just a moment. But now, it's time for me to tell you another terrifying tale from the depths of cinema hell. And for that, we revisit the set of 2007's Jumper, directed by Doug Liman, and starring Hayden Christensen. The film was about a young man with teleportation powers on the run from a secret society, so you can imagine there was a lot of elaborate set design in play. Fast forward, it's January 25th, 2007 in Toronto, in the Portland Studio District, and a team involving veteran set dresser David Ritchie were tasked to tear down a large freestanding outdoor set now that the film crew had moved on to another location in Tokyo. David had an extensive background in the industry, working on films such as The X-Men, New York Minute, and Family Man, to name a few. And at 56 years old, he was an active member of the IATSC Local 873, operating primarily in Toronto for his work.
When the set was built, sections of it had various types of earth, such as dirt and sand, bonded into it to accentuate that outdoor look for the scene.
and by the time David and his crew arrived to tear it down, these materials had frozen over during the winter weather in Toronto, which made them susceptible to breakage. Making this even more dangerous, and given the difficulty of the teardown, a front-end excavator was used to clear sections below, before hand removal resumed.
That's when disaster struck. David and some others were working below of these large sections, and pieces began breaking away, which sent heavy debris containing ice and dirt raining down on them. Unable to escape in time, David was crushed and killed immediately, while one of his co-workers suffered a serious head injury, and another survived a near miss. While the disaster was considered a fluke accident in the press, Jumper's production company was found guilty of various OSHA violations and fined $250,000, since no one was wearing the correct protective headgear, and the set was designed improperly, causing hazardous condition.
In 2008, Jumper was finally released in theaters, where it grossed $250 million at the box office and was nominated for a Saturn Award in 2 different categories, but lost to The Dark Knight and Iron Man.
And while David's death didn't spark significant change in the industry, it's worth noting the detail and risk implied when designing a film set this expensive should be heavily reinforced with the attention to detail necessary to construct and tear down such elaborate sets so that catastrophes like this become preventable. And that will wrap up another segment of the Cinematic Dumpster Fire right here on The Ghost of Hollywood. I'm your host Simon, here with my man Lennox, and stay tuned because it's time to turn things back over to Poxy and Reagan right after these messages. Good night, everybody.
Interested in television or movies?
Then check out The Ghost of Hollywood for the best in cinema-related podcast at theghostofhollywood.com or wherever you get your podcast. How much time does it factor into thought to like how you want to incorporate certain colors, especially because you know the intensity of the process that you have to go through to put them into the image?
Yeah, the colors always kind of come last. I generally try to build up a really dramatic black and white composition first, like just like all soft painting and kind of looks like a charcoal drawing, and then I'll use that as my basis. And like sometimes I'll start out with like, oh, I want to use these colors, and then as I go, the piece completely evolves and changes, and it's like, oh, I like these colors now. And I just like, it's like when you're working digitally with color, it's super easy to just have a million options and try a bunch of things. But the fun thing about making posters is that it's all like screen printing is like you limit yourself intentionally with your color. So, you know, you can do up to however many colors you want to, but I try to keep it like at least 5 to 6 colors. So it's a fun way to keep you sharp, to like, okay, how can I get the most mileage out of this yellow, or how could I print a blue on top of this to get a purple? You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of fun, and you get a lot of happy accidents along the way.
Now, in your early screen print runs, you mixed ink manually and adjusted colors by eye. So how has your ink mixing workflow evolved over time, and which tools or measurement methods do you now rely on for consistency?
So I still do it the same way. It's kind of I used to try to match my colors from the screen to these Pantone books, they're called. It's like the
I'm familiar.
Pantone colors.
Uh-huh.
You're talking about the transition from say RGB to CMYK, right?
Yeah, that kind of thing. And I've been awful at it since day one. I could never match my own colors, so I kind of just wing it every single time. And I just have like a couple buckets of this color, buckets of this color, and I kind of throw it together in like a cauldron, and it's kind of fun.
Well, that's got an authentic pop to it when you do that, though. That's what makes it what it is, right?
Yeah, keeps it interesting for me at least, because mixing colors is like my least favorite part of the job. So
I've never had to mix colors. So is it labor intensive? Like, why is it your least favorite part?
no, it's just like hard to. It's like if you're out of a certain like yellow or color, you have to improvise unless you order stuff ahead of time. And I'm usually pretty behind on ordering inks and stuff, so I kind of use what I have. So
Now,
it's kind of
go ahead. Sorry.
like that.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying it's kind of like just problem solving with like that, like the inks you have, and if you're on a tight deadline, it's hard to get ink shipped right away. So, yeah, just kind of make do with what I have if time doesn't permit.
Now, it worked with transparent inks. Now, can you explain the benefits and challenges in your work of using those and why you choose to work with them on certain projects?
Yeah, transparent inks are incredible. It's like a clear base that you put into whatever pigment you're using, and you can get so many extra colors out of that one color. So you can like, it basically thins it out. So you can have like a really transparent blue sitting on top of a red, and then you get a nice purple or nice blue on top of a yellow, and you get a nice green. So instead of having to create a whole new screen and do all that work for, like, say, a green, you can just mix the two colors on top of each other, and you get and cheat basically cheat a bunch of colors. And yeah, it's a lot of fun because you see it evolve, and you kind of start planning it out because you know what colors will do what with each other. And um, so yeah, a four color, five color screen print can end up being like, 10 colors or something like that.
Oh wow, yeah, you've talked about how like creating your own color before with that a bit, but I know there when you first began working with it was did you just kind of how did let me think about the right way to ask this question. What was your understanding of it before you began actually working with it, and how has that developed as time's gone on?
Well, I stayed away from it for the longest time because I was kind of scared and intimidated by it because I didn't really know how to get the results I was looking for, or didn't really. It was just different. So I stayed at the same things I was comfortable with. And then I was doing this poster for the National, and the poster itself was like really experimental for me, and it ended up being I ended up started using these transparent inks with that. So I was experimenting with the drawing and the printing, and to this day, it's still one of my favorite posters. And after that poster, I started using it almost every single time around, but the same kind of process. But even with that, though, even a good thing can get old and stale. So you have to, like, I got bored with it, and I'm trying to. It's taken me a couple years to get bored, but now I'm bored now, so I'm trying to make up a new formula, a new thing that keeps me interested in it.
Makes sense. Now, like, so what have been some of the bigger technical challenges you've faced when you're working on a gig poster project?
The technical stuff is it's mostly just coming up with a good idea. Especially, I do a lot of local Pittsburgh shows here, like posters for bands coming to town. So it's like it's really hard to come up with a fresh idea of something that you've done a bunch of times. So it's I think it's that's usually the hardest part is just coming up with the idea. Like sometimes it can take weeks of just back and forth brainstorming and trying things out. But I'm learning the more I do it, the more I need to let go of like this illusion of control and kind of let the process, take the wheel and just trust it because it always works out.
When you work back and forth with the artist, like say, I mean, like on a localized level versus a commercialized level, do they usually allow you a fair amount of autonomy when designing what you want to?
Yeah, everybody's very, very like they let me do pretty much whatever I want, and that's been really fun. Like, so I feel really thankful and blessed for that. I show up and give them some ideas, and they usually pick the one I want to do, and it's yeah.
Now, when you're creating a poster for a movie, how does your approach differ from working on a poster for a gig? I know we've discussed designing a little bit. Are there certain elements you focus on or use differently when you're designing for a film?
Yeah, so the film stuff was only I only like just dabbled in that. And that was really challenging because film there's such a lore and there's so much stuff already done for most movies, and to try to come up with a new fresh idea is very challenging. So it's like I would watch the movie, take notes, take screenshots. I would, like the cinematography stuff is really important because like the way they frame things, and it's really interesting. And I don't know, I've only kind of like dabbled in movie poster stuff, and I never really got my wings with it. And I don't know, I'm not a big I love pop culture, but I'm not like super involved with it. So I think that too is part of it why I don't really do more of it.
Have you ever
Like
had anyone reach out and try and commission you to design or develop a poster for or a movie poster like for a theatrical release or anything to that degree yet, or has most of it just been you just redeveloping artwork, or well, not redeveloping artwork, but developing artwork from existing films?
yeah, actually, last year, Mickey Hart and ESPN did a movie poster for their premiere for a movie called Rhythm Masters.
All right, nice.
It was like a sports documentary. Um, it was about rhythm and like the rhythm of sports, the rhythm of life, and it was actually really, really cool. But so that was my first time ever working with a musician for a movie poster. So that was a kind of like a good marriage of the two, and we went back and forth quite a bit on different concepts, and eventually landed on one. But that was one of the most challenging jobs I've ever taken on. So, but yeah, everybody at their camp was happy with it, and I was happy with it. So,
What made it so challenging at the time was the long duration of work.
long duration of work, basically trying to, because the clients didn't really know what they were looking for. So I had to do a lot of experimenting to try to show them options and then show them like so they could tell me what they wanted and not out of it. So it was a lot of back and forth, and a lot of different styles and a lot of things, which was good though, because it, it forced me to grow and to get out of my comfort zone. And yeah, so
This is kind of like part of a say like when you've worked with Mad Duck posters, right?
yeah.
And other curate. Sorry, so with Mad Duck posters and like and other similar projects or curated art series like we're discussing here, how much input do you have in your pieces and how they're promoted or exhibited?
Um, they pretty much took care of all that. Whenever I worked with Mad Duck, they would just hire me to make a poster for this one film, and they would take care of like the promotion, the selling of it, the all that stuff, which is what I prefer because I'd rather just sit around and draw instead of having to do all the business side of it.
Yeah, I understand now. Like if you at your exhibitions have you ever shown original paintings or one off pieces outside of your poster work or?
Yeah, I had an art show in Thomas, West Virginia. My friend Morgan owns a gallery called Bloom. And I did a show of acrylic paintings in 2017. So it was about, I think it was 13 big paintings, all on canvas. And I did those just kind of in my, after the year of busy poster work, I started painting in like secret, and I didn't show anybody, and then I ended up having like 12 or 13, and it's like I reached out, I was like, hey, can I have a show? And he was like, yeah, that sounds great. So it was a lot of fun. I miss painting. I don't do it as much as I used to. It's real good. And after that show, it kind of bled into my screen printing stuff too, with the color mixing and how stuff interacts. So everything is connected.
Well, when you exhibited the paintings, did how was the reception for those at that gallery?
It was good. I ended up selling, I think, like 7 or 8 of them. So that was way better than I expected.
Oh yeah, wow, selling
That's
over
really
60% of them. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So that was really encouraging, and I wish I would have kept that momentum going, but I kind of just let it fizzle out.
Well, do you feel like it was because I mean, it sounds like you're just incredibly busy with everything else you got going on.
Yeah, posters really take up most of my time, and it's hard to give up more time to paintings and stuff like that. But I think the older I get, the more I'm interested in going back to that kind of fine art stuff. And not that posters aren't fine art, but it's fun to experiment on canvas, and there's something different about the way the brush interacts and the pencils interact with the canvas, and it's different than just regular paper. It's always fun.
Did you take up painting later on during your art career, or had you some background in it in earlier life?
No, I took it up just, I think my first one was like 2017 when I first started just messing around, and it was freeing because I wasn't showing anybody, so it didn't really matter if they were bad or not. So, you kind of have to give yourself a chance to try it out. And I think that's a problem with sharing everything on social media and whatnot, is just like you kind of give it away, what you're working on, and if it doesn't resonate with people, then you think it's a failure or something like that. So I think like it's important to keep your keep what you care about under under lock and key, I guess, until you're ready to share it.
Now, when your prints are exhibited in a gallery setting, are you particular about how they're framed or spaced or lit?
Oh no, not that doesn't bother me at all. They can do whatever they want with them.
All right. Now, like, what about solo versus group exhibitions? How do you handle the difference in tone or scale between those two formats? Or do you find it's probably easier, I'm assuming, planning these with other people as opposed to having to design and set up the whole exhibition yourself?
I've only actually had a couple solo exhibitions, and most of the time it's just like a kind of all the work I've done already. So I'm not like making a bunch of new stuff for it. So they're actually pretty simple. But the group shows are a little more hard because I have to kind of make some new things, and then also I'm next to some of my peers who do incredible work. So I'm trying to like I guess what I'm saying is like the solo stuff I'm kind of just more showing up and just showing what I've done in the past, and then like the group stuff I'm making new work, and it's a little more stressful to try to get it right and stuff. So. But I don't really do too many shows. Once every couple of years, I'll do a solo show or something like that. But
When was the last exhibition you appeared at?
I did one here in Pittsburgh. It was like a pop-up thing in Lawrenceville. It was like 3 days over a weekend in October. I showed the screen printing process. So all the walls were covered with my screen prints, like layer by layer by layer. Because I saved all those from the years. So I have hundreds of these, like kind of just like a yellow and blue, yellow, blue, and red, yellow, blue, red, and black. So like it shows the whole process of what the prints look like. So I did that show, and that was really rewarding just to kind of see it all out there and introduce people to like screen printing in that format and show them how like these prints are made, because most people only see the final thing, right? So it's cool to show the layers and the process of it.
Yeah, and it's incredibly like I mean, it's very workflow heavy and technical. So there's a lot of I mean, I guess like almost meticulous understanding that goes into it. And when you're able to provide other people with that understanding, it's probably pretty unique.
Yeah, it's fun. I love talking about that stuff, especially with other creative people, and like all the things, whether it be music, cinematography, drawing, writing, it's everything kind of bleeds into each other, and it's that's you get a lot of good inspiration from that stuff.
Well, where do you store all this stuff now? You got the house that's already full.
I rent a print shop,
Oh, cool.
and east side here, and I've ran it with another friend, poster friend, and some other guys, and so yeah, all my big prints and posters and storage and stuff, my press is there, and which is nice because I have a separation now from my home and work stuff.
Are there other when when you're at the print shop, you work with do you have a team you work with on any of these projects, or are they all pretty much solo?
It's all solo, but I share a shop with my friend Max, who also makes posters, and it's cool because he'll help me out when I'm having like trouble with my machine or something like that, and vice versa. And it's cool to have somebody else around that knows what is doing the same thing, so we can kind of commiserate.
Makes sense.
So, you've presented at various gallery exhibitions and flat stock events across the country. How does audience interaction vary, and how does that feed back into your future print ideas?
It's really cool because the feedback varies quite a bit because I never know when I release a poster online, it's like sometimes it'll sell right away and be really successful. And I'll take that same poster to a flat stock or something like that, and I won't sell a single one. People won't even look at it or even notice it. So it's interesting to see like what the internet wants and likes and what people in person likes. So when I do flat stocks and stuff, I mostly only sell like art prints and like personal pieces, which is really rewarding, and because I could tell the story about those because there's not a band attached to them, and it seems like people really resonate more with that because everybody doesn't go to the same show, so it's harder to sell those kind of posters.
That makes sense. Now, before we go, you mentioned earlier about wanting to work on new techniques. Can you tell me about a technique or an idea for a printing process that you haven't tried yet, or something that you're interested in, more particularly interested in learning and developing as you continue down this path in
I
life?
kind of want to go back to how I first started making posters in my living room. I would hand paint the backgrounds with like just regular paint, and I would kind of trace out where I wanted the shapes of color because I only had one screen. And with doing that, you'd get a lot of like cool brush textures and splatters, and you can kind of do whatever you want with it. And I haven't done that since like 2010 or something like that. And I really do miss that kind of thing, the hands-on making a mess and kind of getting a bunch of unique prints each time around. Like every screen print's are unique, but adding that extra layer of like texture and whatnot is something I miss doing. And mixing, like I would do spray painting sometimes on the background and then screen print on top of it. It's just kind of like a multimedia thing. And I've kind of gotten lazy and just been sticking to my same old routine of what I'm printing. And so I kind of want to break out of that and try some new stuff here, maybe this fall or something. Just do some personal art pieces.
Zeb, we appreciate you making the time to join us here on the Ghost of Hollywood.
Well, thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate it.
And I'm Boxy Leonard here with Ms. Reagan. We've been speaking with artist and printmaker Zeb Love. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages.
Interested in television or movies?
Then check out The Ghost of Hollywood for the best in cinema-related podcast at theghostofhollywood.com or wherever you get your podcast.
Welcome back to The Ghost of Hollywood. I'm Mr. Reagan here with Poxy Leonard, and we've just finished speaking with printmaker and visual artist Zeb Love about his work, business, and career developing prints for artists throughout various regions of the industry.
We'd like to thank Zeb for making time to speak with us here tonight, and our sponsors at KBOO Radio for their support seeing this episode come to fruition. Also, shout out to Simon and Lennox as they continue to keep the cinematic dumpster fire under control throughout Season 5.
You haven't appeared on a segment of Cinematic Dumpster Fire in a while, Poxy.
Yeah, well, the guys have been doing their thing, man. I just get in the way now, to be honest. But, well, actually, Lennox directed and cut this segment of Cinematic Dumpster Fire all by himself. So big up in the game there. I wasn't even in the room.
Oh, so you're obsolete, huh?
Yeah, I'm getting there. All in good time, though. Anyway, that's a wrap for episode 45, Wall Crawlers. We will be back in a few weeks with a brand new episode and a lovely new guest, so keep your ears open, baby.
You can also visit our website at theghostofhollywood.com for all the latest information and episode updates. And don't forget, The Ghost of Hollywood is streaming wherever you get your podcast.
All right, Wall Crawlers, thanks for hanging with us as we continue to make our way through the 5th season. I'm Boxy Leonard here with Miss Reagan.
And until next time, good morning and good night.
You have been listening to another episode of The Ghost of Hollywood. The Ghost of Hollywood was created by Zach and Reagan Flannery. The show is written by Zach Flannery, Simon Flannery, and Lennox Flannery. The show is mixed by Lennox Flannery. The Ghost of Hollywood was produced by Leonard Shure Company in Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon. For more information, please visit leonardshure.com or theghostofhollywood.com.